Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you the 10 most important lessons that I have learned about buying luxury handbags, luxury fashion over the last 10 years. Technically, it's probably been more like 8 or 9, but 10 just sounds better. So this is a roundup over the last decade of just probably the most important lessons I've learned and things that I wish I knew when I started getting into handbags and buying more quality luxury pieces. So I hope that you find today's video helpful, and let's get started. Lesson number 1 is don't go overboard with any particular style. So this particular point was more directed towards monogram, and more specifically Louis Vuitton monogram. In the beginning, when I started buying luxury handbags, designer handbags, I was just solely buying Louis Vuitton, and I was just solely buying monogram, and monogram was my favorite. And just like anything in this world, you can definitely overdo it. You can definitely go overboard, and you can definitely overdo it on anything. And that also applies to a particular style, a particular, even particular design house. Like personally, I still love Dior, but I went a little bit overboard with my ladies. This can happen to anything. For me, it was definitely with Louis Vuitton monogram. I have, in my humble opinion, too much Louis Vuitton monogram. I have too much. I don't even really know where the line was. Like one day I just crossed it and I woke up and I was like, holy shit, I have so much monogram. And you don't really know what's happened until it's too late. So that's just something to be aware of. If I was to start over again, I would be a little bit more aware and a little bit more open to the idea of not becoming absolutely obsessed with one particular design house, one particular canvas, one particular style. Number 2, selling is a... Sorry, the rage is already like coming through me. It is a bitch. Literally, this is selling and I just want to like, ow, punch it in the face. Selling can suck it. Suck it hard, okay? I absolutely It's painful for the soul. Please, feel free to start bitching in the comments down below because I'm going off. I'm going off on point number 2. Ugh, you will waste hours of your time. You will meet many a time waster, okay? You will meet many a people who will say they're going to transfer money and then just never transfer you, or just ask you 700 questions in different forms and then still not want to buy it. You will meet hagglers. Okay, I once selling my Balmain blazer for $900. I had someone ask me if I'd be willing to part with it for $200. Are you effing shitting me? Sorry, I'm really passionate about this point. Selling is a bitch, and for the love of God, keep your receipt because that is important. Keep the dust bag. I let go of keeping boxes years ago. I used to keep boxes in the beginning, but it got to the point where like how much room does one person have in their house to store boxes? A lot of people though don't really want your item if it doesn't come with a dust bag, a receipt, and a box. Which has led me to really want to be more careful and more selective. Okay, look, I'm shaking your shoulders virtually. Okay, I'm shaking them. Please be careful with what you buy because selling is a bitch. Truly, bitch. Oh, my heart is pounding. Okay, let's move on to number 3. There is nothing wrong with pre-loved luxury fashion. There is nothing wrong with buying pre-loved. I've talked about this in a previous video. If you want to check it out in more detail, I'll have it linked. But I used to feel this way in the beginning. I used to be a bit uppity about my handbags, and I just truly wanted everything brand new and everything to come in the shiny, beautiful packaging and, you know, be untouched by anyone else. But that novelty, I think, kind of wears off. Maybe not for everyone, but for some, I think it does, where you just get to the point where you just appreciate the beautiful item as it is, and there are so many positives, so many pros to buying pre-loved. If you find yourself on any video from like 3 or 4 years ago with past Caitlin, just give her a bit of an internet slap if she's bitching and moaning about pre-loved, because ain't nothing wrong with a pre-loved fashion deal, baby. Number 4, I've talked about this point before, but a little bit more of in a negative light, because I still just check out that video after this one. I still feel that way, but what I've also come to be a little bit more realistic about and consider is sometimes buying from another country or buying from a reseller, an Instagram reseller, can actually be easier and cheaper than buying from a boutique from your home country. It can take a little bit more research, but for there's certain brands that I have just come around to on this particular one. Hermes is obviously one. I mean, obviously you're not going to get it cheaper, but then some would argue you will, because you don't really have to worry about that purchase history and the jumping through hoops that a lot of Hermes boutiques partake in. But I think there are certain resellers and there are certain Instagram accounts, depending on like what the particular country is, what the currency is, that I've actually managed to find bags that are cheaper in that particular currency, even when converted into Australian currency, than what I can get them for in the Australian price. And I think that also goes back to, I mean, once we can all start traveling again more freely, I think there's something to be said for, if you plan to go to Europe, if you plan to already take a holiday or whatever country, you know, wherever you're from, wherever you're planning to go to, sometimes it can really be a good idea to do your research, because you may be able to find the exact same bag that you want that's in your home country for a significant amount less in another particular country. You know, sometimes you're paying a little bit more through an Instagram reseller, sometimes you're not, depending on where you live and where you're buying it from. But there's also something to be said for the amount of time that can be wasted calling up Chanel customer service, going into boutiques, waiting for a particular bag to come in, hoping that somebody will serve you and give you adequate service. And, you know, a lot of times if you want a particular bag, sometimes they'll say they don't know when they're getting it, or maybe they genuinely don't know where they're getting it in. That can chew into your days, that can take hours, weeks. So sometimes it's just easier to go online and hit up an Instagram reseller. Number 5, I feel this is something that, you know, if you've been watching my last few videos, you know this is kind of something I've been on lately. But I wish I could have, but even if I could have told my younger self, would she have listened? Probably not. You can indeed have too many bags, and you can indeed have too many things. And I've slowly been, you know, selling and moving on. I'm back to point 2, selling's a bitch. But I've been slowly moving out the bags that I don't no longer want in my collection. But even with the bags that I'm selling and moving on, I still look at my handbag collection and I still admit that I have too many bags. I have too many bags. I admit that. But truthfully, I still love all of them. So I'm not going to get rid of any of them at the moment. I still love them. But whether or not I get the wear out of them is another thing. I don't really get the wear out of them that they deserve. And I think this is another topic we can debate, you know, how many bags is enough? How many bags is too many? I personally feel I've got too many bags. But now I've kind of fallen into this trap where I'm like, well, yes, I have too many bags, but I also really love them all. And if I was to go ahead and sell some of them, the amount of energy and time it would take to do it. But also, resale price is not the greatest. So it comes down to, you can indeed have too many bags, and I'm the first to admit this, and I think there's maybe a lot of other people in the luxury community who admit the same thing, especially if they're online or if they're full-time influencers. Nobody needs this many bags. Nobody needs that many things. And you can definitely go overboard. Number 6, watching luxury influencers, luxury related YouTube videos can be both beneficial, but also incredibly toxic. And I think this is one of the biggest things. Like, if I could go back to 20-year-old Caitlin and tell her, don't spend so many hours watching frivolous content and content that's a little bit mind-numbing, that doesn't really better you in any way, it doesn't really teach you anything. I think that's the biggest thing that I would tell myself. Number 7, sometimes spontaneous purchasing can be some of the best purchases you ever make. When I say spontaneous purchases, I'm not at all talking about like not having the actual funds for a bag and then just like whacking on a credit card and dealing with it later. That's not at all what I mean. There's something to be said for, you know, saving up the money and having money for a bag, and you don't even necessarily know what one it is yet. I have a fair good amount of items in my life that I have just seen and fallen in love with and truly thought they were the most incredible thing, and they were just fitted me perfectly. They were made for my body, they were made for my shape, they were made for my style. Sometimes there's that spontaneity that I really love about fashion, I really love about shopping. There's again a fine line, like you don't want to turn into a crazy shopping addict where you just go frivolously buy a bunch of shit without even thinking about it. Like I said, okay, delicate balance, fine line. And I kind of compare it to shopping for a partner, if you will. I've done both of these things where I've had like a list of requirements, a list of things that I want in a person, and then I find somebody with this checklist of things that I want, but they don't light me up inside and I don't feel it, which I remember when it first happened, I was like, what is going on? It's this 6'2", attractive, handsome man, like career, good family, good job, nice house, financials are all set up, he can dress well, great friendship group, great family values. And then I kissed him and I was like, I remember, oh no, I truly felt nothing. So there's something to be said for just shopping for a partner or a bag, and not taking into consideration that chemistry, that like lighting up of you, fire inside you. Some of the best people I've met weren't anything that I thought I was looking for or anything that I thought I needed in my life, much like with some of my best handbag purchases. So something to think about. Number 8, buy for yourself and your lifestyle and no one else's. You will be a lot happier with your purchases, with your items, and with your life if you're buying for you, yourself, and your lifestyle. It's like me thinking that I should go and buy that tiny little Chanel vanity style, like makeup looking bag because it's Instagram popular and everyone has it. It's really in and it's fashionable and it's affordable, when really it doesn't suit my lifestyle. It'd be more of a novelty for me. It's not something that I'd actually get the wear out of. It would actually be practical for my lifestyle. So it's not going to work. Don't buy to fit in. Don't buy to keep up with influencers. Don't buy to flex. Buy for you and buy for your lifestyle. Number 9. Now this one pains me to say, and you may disagree. Feel free to share with me your personal experiences below. I've met people who have said that, you know, they've never made a bad purchase and they've never messed up. Really learning what you love and learning what works for you and your lifestyle and learning what is your particular style in a handbag comes through experience, and it comes through trial and error, I think. And I think like that's kind of like with a lot of things. You're not going to know what you love and what really works for you without kind of trying some things on. Sometimes you end up buying those things. You're never going to know until you actually try, buy, and you have a little bit of a process of elimination. You realize, oh crap, well, I thought that that particular style of handbag worked for me. I thought that that brand worked for me. I thought that that particular design house work for me. Turns out they don't, and that's something that you learn through trial and error and experience. So you're not always going to get it right, and that's, I mean, sometimes a good thing, and you're not always going to get it right, but luckily a lot of the times you can sell with great difficulty, but you know, you can sell these things and you can get a good portion of your money back, but it all comes through trial and error, and that's like most things in life. So be patient and be kind to yourself. It's trial and error, and also your taste can change, yourself can change. So number 10, I've saved the most important point to last, and that is they are just handbags. You can literally insert, put this in front of any material object that you aspire to own or are trying to acquire or currently own. It is just an item. It is just a material possession. It is just a handbag. And yes, it may be a very expensive handbag, but at the end of the day, it is still just a handbag. And, you know, I think sometimes when we get in this whirlwind and you spend so much time on social media, if you spend a lot of time in the luxury space, if you spend a lot of free time in boutiques, if you surround yourself and if you consume a lot of luxury content, you will get wrapped up in this world that they are more than just a material item, when in actual fact that's not the case. These are not worth you taking time away from your loved ones, your family, time, precious time that you'll never get back. These are not worth you going into debt over. These are not worth you wasting so much of your precious time and energy. These are not worth you stressing over. These are not worth you crying over, okay? These are bags. I mean, I'm not there yet. I'll let you know when I get there, but I just truly don't believe that on our deathbeds, and on my deathbed, I'm going to be sitting there wishing that I spent more time scrolling and more time buying luxury fashion and more time in boutiques looking at handbags and more money on handbags. I just don't think that's something that I am going to wish that I did in my life as I'm on my deathbed. Sorry to get a bit morbid and a bit deep with you, but I feel that point is very important. You know, these are just handbags. They're not worth your tears. They're not worth your stress. They're not worth your debt. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's video. Please, my favorite part, Share with me more. I only managed to come up with 10 points, 10 important life lessons over the last 10 years, but I know you got more for me, baby. So please leave your most important lessons that you have learned about buying luxury handbags, luxury fashion in general. Please share with me your lessons in the comments down below, and let me know what you think of today's video. It really means a lot to me, so feel free to chime in the comments down below. I'm gonna have another one linked to you right here. If you haven't had enough of me just yet, feel free to join me over there. Thank you so much for being here in today's video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.